All right, so hopefully you all got uh, your watch party started. Again, this is Zaylore Stout, author of Our Gay History in 50 States, your LGBTQI plus history book, highlighting significant people, places, and queer facts on a state-by-state basis. Today, I'm more than ecstatic to have my new friend, Terry Dyer here, fellow author. There's so much. I mean, look at like let me bring out let me bring out this bio because Terry's done everything. So over at see, so this is where you get to be a little bit embarrassed, but I know you're probably used to this, Terry. So over the span of 15 years, Terry's professional career has spanned corporate America, both in public and nonprofit environments. He's always had a passion for helping people, and that is something that has never wavered. He's worked with some companies and organizations such as the San Francisco State University, the Stop AIDS Project in 2010. He was highlighted as Paz Health Magazine's African American Person of the Month. All right now. Terry does tons of volunteer work with many organizations, especially in the San Francisco Bay Area, as well as the Sacramento communities. Um, now here's the government name. All right, Terry Dwayne Dyer. All right, hails from Kansas City, Kansas, but considers himself a California boy. You know, I was born in the Midwest too, but I'm a California
Yeah,
boy too. You were NorCal,
that's
I was
right.
SoCal. All American track athlete, all American volleyball athlete, got a scholarship on athletic, academic, as well as music, studied opera and vocal performance, but now lives in sunny Southern Florida with his daughter Zola, who is an amazing little pooch. You know, we all have to have our little
Yes.
animal.
Yes.
So welcome, Terry. Thanks so much for sharing some of your time with us today.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. I'm super excited to have this conversation with you today.
And I mean, I'm trying to remember how it was we connected. I think I just saw an article about you somewhere and I was like, wait a minute, we're too much alike. And I just need to make sure I reach out. We're both Californian. We both ran track. We both work in HR and have HR roots. You know, after reading your book, you know, Latchkey Kid Experiences, LGBT, both authors. We both worked at Taco Bell. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. All right, but for those that watch our book's Facebook page and listen to our Facebook lives as we have, I love this picture. All the pink and the
Oh,
soft is so favorite. All right.
thank
One
you.
of the things that we always highlight is we want to make sure that we go over, you know, what's going on in the news, not only domestically but also on an international perspective. So I think I hear something happening.
Oh,
Oh, what's
oh,
that?
oh,
Wait a minute.
oh.
Did y'all know it's Transgender Awareness Week?
Yes.
Woo! Transgender Awareness Week. Well, actually, in some places, it's Transgender Awareness Month that they celebrate. So actually, all of the news reports that we're going to be sharing today are focused on the transgender community, and there's all kinds of great stuff to share out there. So let's just dive right into it. Starting off with World LGBT News. First, we have these amazing teens in Canada in the Yukon, which is one of the first places in Canada to ban conversion therapy. So it shows how, you know, you can't be too young to be involved and be an activist in
Right.
making. So quick little recap here. 2 years ago, there were two students, Aiden and Mercedes, that got together and they were like, wait a minute, conversion therapy, what is that all about? And then they looked it up on Google to see if it was banned anywhere in Canada, and they were dumbfounded to find out that that was not the case. And for those that don't know about conversion therapy, it's a discredited practice that aims at changing someone's sexual orientation or gender identity through counseling, behavioral modification, and medication. The thing is that this is something that's been, you know, scientifically found to be scientifically unsound and harmful for the subjects by many professional medical organizations. And so the two students went right to their gender sexuality alliance at their secondary school and was like, look, we need to do something here. And they got to work. So they did research on the topic. They spoke with the media. They reached out to their local politicians. They even met with students at local high schools so that they could join forces in regards to this effort. They created petitions and got over 401 signatures. They highlighted that this practice has been denounced by the Canadian Psychological Association as well as the World Health Organization. You know, they even did they got the government to do a public survey, and where they found that 75% of the respondents indicated that this was legislation that they found to be extremely or very important that they wanted the government to address. There's an NDP leader by the name of Kate White who helped the students throughout this entire process. And she indicated that she loved doing this and helping the kids because it was something that was 100% youth-driven process. And that this issue wasn't even on her radar until the youth brought this to her attention. So they actually did all kinds of great work, and it took a long time, but in 2019, the students rallied outside the legislature with signs and everything saying 178, which notated the number of days that had passed since they provided the petition to the government. And on that day, there was a speech by the Yukon's liberal government that said that they would be banning conversion therapy. And the fruits of that labor passed actually a week ago. So the Sexual Orientation and Gender Identity Protection Act, Bill number 9, passed unanimously. And so that made the Yukon the first territory to ban conversion therapy in Canada. So what do you think about this story, Terry?
Fantastic. I think it just goes to show that it starts with one person, and for somebody to stand up and say, this is not okay, and then to take it upon themselves to, rally folks and to do the necessary legwork to get people involved, to go to the right people as well, obviously with the legislative and Miss White that helped them out as well. I think it just takes one person to really truly make a difference, and that one person can really sort of influence and empower others to make a difference. So kudos to you in Canada. I am here for it.
Kudos, Canada, absolutely.
I am here for it.
And so just showing that the young folks can make things happen.
That's right.
There's a two runoff elections for senators coming up in Georgia that could make a huge difference. You want there to be protections nationally in regard to the Equality Act being passed? Young people, get to work in Georgia. All right.
That's right.
Getting off my soapbox. Next, so we have the next one. Now, this story is actually in Bangladesh. So we have LGBT advocates call First Islamic School for Transgender Students in Bangladesh a step forward, but not enough. All right, so this is actually a school that was just opened. It's first of its kind in the country, and actually the first of its kind in South Asia. They already have 40 students that have signed up for the school, and it's for students that identify as a third gender. And it's a private school that can actually hold up to 100 students. And the students are taught the Quran and Arabic languages in their primary classes, but they'll also be taught other languages like English and Bangla. I hope I said that right, in some of their elective senior classes. An advocate for the school indicated in their statement in a quote that our aim is to eventually provide technical skill-based education to community members alongside with their madrasa education so that they're able to earn a living for themselves. So the government estimates that there are roughly 10,000 individuals that would identify as transgender in the country. However, advocacy groups indicate that the number is probably closer to 100,000, especially with a country with a population of 160 million people. So Terry, what are your thoughts in regards to this one?
I think it just goes to show that there's so much more work to be done, and we need to be creating safe spaces for people to feel comfortable and like they can get their education, they can talk to other like-minded folks and people that are going through similar situations and things like that. Kudos. And I think it's awesome to hear that things are happening in different countries also. As we know, in a lot of states, you can be so fired for being LGBTQ. Yep. You can be murdered and killed in certain countries. I think, as each country starts to move the needle forward, I hope that it continues to influence other folks to do the exact same thing. So especially in a country, in Islamic culture, I think this is a huge push forward. So kudos Absolutely. To them too.
Huge push forward. And yeah, so we had our Supreme Court decision that came out in June indicating, it's a law of the land that you can't discriminate against folks in the workplace based on their gender identity or gender expression or sexual orientation. However, with the new composition of the United States Supreme Court, we know that that is a decision that the court plans on revisiting. So things of getting like the Equality Act passed will codify those types of things. So we're not going to have to worry about the composition of the Supreme Court in order for these rights to be there and available to us. So kudos to all those out in Bangladesh. Your news made us smile over here in the States. All right. Oh, I went too fast. So Dublin's next. So we have a historic first. We have a historic first with the raising of the transgender flag across Dublin City, marking Transgender Awareness Month. This was the first time that this has happened in Dublin. And so, you know, it was done with a partnership with Dublin Pride, Dublin City Council, as well as Dublin City Parks. And I have a couple of quotes that I want to make sure I highlight here, that they indicate that the trans flag flying this week are important for many reasons. From what we know, it's the first time Dublin has raised a trans flag for Transgender Awareness Week, and it is monumental in its recognition that transgender people in this city and across Ireland. It's also important because unfortunately, this year we've seen 350 trans and gender diverse people murdered globally, and that's the highest number in years. And so this number includes ours here in the United States. We've had our largest number in the years and even over yet. And the flags are a sign of solidarity by the city. It shows the city will continue to advocate for trans rights and celebrate our resilience and beautiful community, even in a time when we can't physically gather to remember and celebrate. All right, go ahead, Dublin. So what do you think about this one, Terry?
I think this is also a huge step in the right direction. I'm glad that Dublin, you know, in this specific article included numbers globally, because we don't necessarily hear a lot of times in the United States what's happening, you know, in different countries and vice versa. So this is a huge global issue. First of all, you know, no one in any community should really be killed for living their truth and authenticity and their lives the way that they choose to live them. So I think this just continues to show us that there are folks out there that need our help, our love, and our support and our respect, because they deserve to live in their full truth just like we do. And I feel as though, I'm hoping, I should say, that our community, our LGBTQ community, etc., also understands that we need to jump on the bandwagon and support our brothers and sisters that are trans as well, because this is such a huge issue. Listen, I'm gonna not go there just yet because I don't know what other topics we're gonna talk about. So, you know, I don't want to start reaching too early, but I just feel like, you know, we are such a community that is all about equality, and people need to respect and understand that we are a part of this society just like they are. But then we also have, we'll turn around and be discriminatory against our lesbian community, against our trans community. I think the more that we see other people stepping up and speaking out for those communities as well, the better off that we are. And yeah, let me stop there. So that's what I think about. That's what I think about that.
You're getting hearts and claps all over the Facebook chat. Hey, what's up, Rox? What's up, Rox? Love you. What's up, Pam? Pam, one of our loving parents. I love Pam. Pam's one of my, she's my ride or die right there.
Yes.
As well as Beth Mejia. Beth is one of our frontline healthcare workers over there in North Memorial Hospital, helping keep people safe. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing for us too, Beth. All right, next article. So that's the international stuff. There's lots of great news out there, so keep an eye out and take a look at those as well. But we're going to move on to domestic news. So you know, Brown, UPS and those little brown shorts.
Oh boy.
UPS is changing their dress code to be more trans friendly. So they've recently updated the dress code to make sure that it's gender neutral, keeping with their famous brown uniform. They have almost 500,000 employees. And so that's a huge employer. And one of the things that they said was, no matter how you identify, dress appropriately for your work day. And the move, its focus is to, and here's a couple other things. So they're going to make sure that they're going to allow men to wear their hair long, regardless of their religion. The new policy will allow employees to wear beards and mustaches, so long as they're worn in a business-like manner and don't create a safety concern. And we're in HR, so we know the language that they're speaking here, right?
Absolutely.
Piercings are okay so long as they're small or they're earrings, but tattoos still need to be covered. These changes, so here's a quote from them. So these changes reflect our values and desire to have all UPS employees feel comfortable, genuine, and authentic while providing service to our customers and interacting with the general public. Now, these changes are coming with a new head of the organization, the first woman CEO of UPS, Carol Tomei. And this was based on responses that employees provided in regards to feedback. They cited the dress code as one of the main reasons they wouldn't recommend that their friends actually get jobs at UPS. And here's something that you'll like, Terry, all right, especially given the fact that we're both from California.
Yeah.
Traditional Black hairstyles are also explicitly allowed. So you can wear your afro, you can wear your braids, you can wear your curls, your coils, your locks, your twists, and your knots. All right.
Yes.
So, so what do you think about that one, Terry?
I love it. I love it. I think, again, we need folks like large organizations such as UPS to really step forward and make these necessary changes. It's sort of like, and I'm giving a presentation this afternoon, and one of the things that I'm talking about in this presentation is POCs, people, points of contact, right? We need those influential people to step up and step out and say, it's about time that we make the necessary changes to take care of our employees, to make sure that they feel comfortable and safe at work. Because at the end of the day, we want them to help our company succeed. And you help people succeed when they feel safe and are comfortable and have the rights and like everybody else does. So kudos to you also, UPS, for being the first to step out and publicly announce these sorts of changes that are necessary for our society.
Absolutely, absolutely. You want people to bring their full authentic selves to work, right? And so this is part of it, allowing for them to identify it and present what feels most comfortable for them. I see some notes here in the chat. So we have Minneapolis will be flying trans flag, the trans colors on the Lowry building, 35W Bridge, which is actually the bridge. Minnesotans know, actually everybody around the country knows that's the bridge that actually fell in 2007 and was rebuilt. There's amazing lights that are on there. And so that it's going to actually have the trans lights on there, as well as the Target building, on the top of the Target building for Target headquarters, which is right here in downtown Minneapolis. They're going to have the trans flags. And it says here, thanks to Andrea Jenkins from Ward 8, who is one of our 2 transgender members of our Minneapolis City Council. So yes, absolutely. All right, and the last report for domestic news is, dun, 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 we may end up with a transgender surgeon general. Can you imagine? So quick recap in regards to Rachel Levine. She's one of the very few transgender public officials in America. She was formerly the physician general for the state of Pennsylvania back in 2015, became the Pennsylvania Secretary of Health in 2017. She has Jewish heritage and roots, and went to Tulane University School of Medicine, studied her pediatric fellowship at Mount Sinai Medical Center. I mean, what a change to go from the Trump administration, where they're trying to, preventing the CDC from even using the word transgender in regards to any of their documentation, to possibly having a transgender surgeon general. Holy smokes. What do you think?
This is, again, such a massive step forward. I think with her pedigree that you just mentioned and shared with everybody, with her background, to me, that's the most important thing, right? It doesn't matter if she's male, female, trans, Black, white, Hispanic, none of that matters. It matters what she's able to do for the people in that space and to move things forward. So I am all in support for this, and it just is like sort of icing on the cake that she happens to be transgender and can help move that agenda forward as well. So thankfully she's here.
Absolutely. And I mean, clearly has the knowledge and experience to be able to be the Surgeon General, having been the Surgeon General and the Secretary of Health for a giant state like Pennsylvania. All right, so made it through the news. Let's see what else we have here. Book news. Book news. So the state of Illinois was a teacher, an educator in Illinois reached out to me and was like, we have students that want to be able to have use your book as part of a curriculum and a discussion. Would you be willing to talk to them? Of course. It's the whole reason why I wrote the book. So so that's something that's in the hopper. So I'm glad to hear that kids are identifying with the book and finding value in the book. That's what it was all done for. Again, my focus and goal was, if I can save one LGBT kid's life, if I can have
Right.
one less parent kick their kids out because they're LGBT, you know, if I can have one additional place of worship, will it, you know, welcome and accept, you know, the LGBT kids that are part of their congregations, then it was effort and time well spent in regard to this.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Illinois, and we'll be having some updates in regard to that. If you at your school or you know educators that are interested in regards to having me appear as a guest speaker, let me know, because I'm all down for you know, providing that access and that inclusion. And book clubs. Hey, we'll be talking about that with you, Terry. All right. So what am I watching? Trans Hood. Now I have not seen this yet. But I've heard amazing and great things about it already. So it's on my watch list. I'm finally catching up on some work so I can actually sit back and spend some time, you know, on some of these educational types of documentaries. This one's done by HBO. It follows 5 years, 4 kids, one unprecedented story. What about you, Terry? Is there anything that you're watching that you want to recommend for our listeners?
Not yet. I actually just read the description about this last week and spoke to a few friends who have started watching it, and I'm excited to add that to my watch list as well. Anytime that we can bring, especially in such a platform as television and stories and movies and things like that, we all know that we all watch them. So that's a great spot for people to go and understand, sort of humanize and put faces with the stories and things that we're constantly hearing in the news and so forth. So again, this is another thing that I am absolutely here for.
It's super crucial. I mean, I spoke at a university in South Dakota last month or the month before, and public radio reached out to me for an interview, and they're like, you know, our audience are, you know, white women in North Dakota, which don't have as much access to individuals that are LGBT, let alone trans. And the focus was in regards to trans folks. And she was like, would you be willing to talk about this? I was like, yeah. And then they wanted to get somebody that's trans to be interviewed as well. And I kind of had a feeling that they might have some trouble tracking somebody down.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, would you need some help tracking down a transgender person in South Dakota that would be willing to be interviewed? And she said, yes, absolutely. It took one email, one Facebook message to a dear friend. You know, we have our network, so we got folks all over the place.
That's
and,
right.
And again, it's being able to share those stories, to be able to humanize the story. And it's not, trans folks aren't this boogeyman that are trying to, you know, overturn, you know, the world. They want to be able to live their lives, and they want to be able to live their lives authentically, just like everybody else.
That's right.
So
I also want to add that so living in San Francisco in the Castro neighborhood for such a long time, one of the things that we used to sort of joke about, but talk in all seriousness about is, you know, a lot of straight folks would come to that community to, you know, see the gays and see what's happening in that neighborhood and see the hypersexualized behavior and things of that nature. And one of the things that, you know, it sort of dawned on me was that, listen, we're not the petting zoo, right? You can't just say, ooh, today I'm going to go and see these folks and let me go and look and gawk and things like that. And so I want to make clear that when we have things like this film here, it's not to look and gawk and things of that nature. It's to educate, and it's to understand, and it's to sort of put a human face with the issues and the struggles that people are going through in this country. So I just want to sort of plug that a little bit, that people need to really truly remember that when we have things like this and on social media, it's all about educating ourselves that there are differences out there that we need to love and respect.
Absolutely. See, all right. See, that's why I need you on here, right? You just have to be a co-host all the time, but this is fun. All right. Where else are we? Oh, okay. So something else. I fell into the whole, like, so there's all these commercials now, it seems like I've been seeing lately in regard to LGBT folks. And this is a commercial that was played and just had me crying. I'm gonna try to hold it together. But again, these are companies that don't have to do this, right? It's like, this is, you know, MasterCard is going to be making their money. They don't have to be doing anything like this, but these are the initiatives that can make a difference. Watch.
Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh my.
Right? So here's a random thing. So a long
Wow.
time ago on Facebook, I started this like morning cry thing. It's like you find something like some show or some
Uh,
commercial or something that's just so powerful and stuff. It's like
yeah.
I'll post it on Facebook, like, oh, get ready for your morning cry. And then everybody gets mad at me because they're over there crying, watching the news or
Wow.
having coffee. But you know what I mean? Like a company, an organization like MasterCard does not have to do this, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, there aren't millions of trans people in this country, right? But it makes a difference in regards to um, you know it makes an impact in regards to the lives of the folks it is that
Absolutely.
don't have that access, right? That don't
Well,
have
and it
that.
was just like we were talking earlier with respect to UPS. Like this is just another incredibly well-known organization that is stepping up and stepping out to draw attention to acceptability and respect and humanizing the folks that are here just like we are. So I love it. Love it.
Right. All right. So we're out of the PowerPoint. It's just us. All right. Now they can see that we're all like tearing up and
I
everything.
know.
That's our commercial. There's a bunch of commercials too. So I may just have to like each one of the weeks I'm gonna have to play a commercial because they're doing the most out there. They are doing the most. I think there was a Starbucks one too where I think it's the kid and they keep getting you they their dead name is the one that keeps getting used all the time. And then when they
Yeah.
went to Starbucks, they gave their name, and then like they called their name, and there was the one place that they could go where they were called the name that they identified
Yeah.
by. Oh,
Mm.
killing me. All right, so on that note, all right. So Terry, hey, so tell us, who's Terry? Give us some background in regards to you besides all the great stuff I read down in your bio.
Oh gosh. Who is Terry? Terry is someone who is incredibly passionate about everything that I do, really. I am a person with a voice, and it's taken a long time to actually find that voice and use it to influence, inspire, and motivate. Terry is someone who obviously has recently wrote a book, a tell-all book that is addressing a lot
Tell
of
all, you tell all of it, all the business, all of it.
tons and tons of themes in the book that's really sort of bringing attention and hopefully stirring conversations with people, necessary conversations about issues that we deal with as people of color in society, as gay people, lesbians, etc. Like that's who I am. That's who I am. I'm an athlete, a musician, and a corporate person. I like to kind of do it all. I'm a papa, and she's like making all these noises right now because she sees me talking and she's like, there's no one here, so who are you talking to?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
y'all hear that noise? It's my kid sitting right near me going, pay attention to me. That's who I am, and that's what I'm about, is really just sort of using my life and everything that I have been through to hopefully, like you said earlier, save at least one person from suicide, from ridicule, from oppression, etc. So that's me in a nutshell.
Hey, and I missed one important thing during talking about your bio. So tell us about the company that you're a partner of, Outburo.
Yeah, so Out Bureau is an LGBTQ focused organization. It's been around for 12 years, specifically with a platform to where companies can access for free. So they can put their company profile into the platform. They can gain access to hire, specifically in the LGBTQ community. That's where I have brought that experience with my background of 15 years to the organization. We do diversity and inclusion workshops and conferences and seminars. We do guest lectures and speeches on company branding, and we help and consult with those things as well. In addition to that, so the platform is free of charge for people to join, but then in addition to that, the employees can also set up their profiles on the platform as well and connect with other folks that are like them as well. So we sort of joke and say it's as if Glassdoor and LinkedIn had a gay baby. Out Bureau came from that. So yeah, there's lots of things that we do with the organization, but I think the biggest thing is that it's LGBTQ specific, for folks to really step up and say, you know, my company is great. They respect us. They do a lot for the LGBTQ community, provide employer ratings as well. And so companies like to reach out to us and get that information to use to better their place of work as well. So that's what I do with Out Bureau.
All right now. You over there doing the most. That's why I love it. Welcome Donna and Shannon to the discussion. All right, so the book. So what made you want to write? You're amazing. Let me make sure I hold it up so people can see it, right? This whole like green screen's not letting me do it.
Right.
Letters to a Gay Black Boy.
Yeah, so
give me the backstory.
Yeah, so I honestly just said several years ago, you know how people tell you a lot, oh, you have so much to say, you should write a book or you should write a blog and things like that. And a lot of times when that happens, people think, oh yeah, right. Like, you know, you say that to everybody sort of thing. But I was journaling 5 years ago, and then I realized, you do realize what you're writing in these journals can empower people. It can empower folks that did not have access to certain things that you didn't have access to growing up. It's to influence and inspire and motivate people to move beyond their circumstances. And so next thing I know, I kept writing and writing and writing. And next thing I said, listen, I think this could turn itself into a book. So I put a little, you know, manuscript together and sent it to a few colleagues and friends. And one of them who lives in Florida as well, she called me at like 8 a.m. and said, I need you to wake up. I need you to put this in book format. I need you to get this published. Why have you been sitting on this for such a long time? People need to hear it. People need to talk about it. People need to see that you can go through all these things and rise above and overcome. So that's really what the book, how the book was brought together.
And how long has the book been out?
It has been out since July 15th, so just a few months.
All right. And you've been all over the place. I'm following you on social media. Your book tour is in full swing.
It has been. It is being keynote speakers at different community events and, you know, in different states on book tours. A lot, of course, because of COVID has been virtual, which is fine too. But definitely, you know, as a result of COVID, we miss that human, you know, interaction, that human connection to really sort of get your message across. But listen, we've been making do with what we have afforded to us right now. So yeah, it's been fun, exhausting, but fun.
I know, because you're doing this along with your day job. I think I can sympathize with you on that one.
Absolutely.
So how did you decide to break up your book into these 15 different letters? There's 15 separate letters that you wrote to that gay Black boy.
Yes. You know, I was writing and I started to think about putting all of the entries into chapters based off of subjects. And then I woke one day and I went to jot some notes down, and someone had texted me and said to me, hey, have you thought about, you know, writing a letter like to your biological father? And I said, no, but how about I write these chapters as letters? You know, thank you for that idea, right?
You're like, okay, pivot.
Right. No, I mean, it's been X amount of years. I have not, no, absolutely not. But what a concept because then I started thinking about, my first question in response to that was, do people actually write letters anymore? You know, that's such a lost art with technology and social media and everything like that. So I said, no one does. What if I did? Let's look at the concept of putting each chapter, instead of trying to combine the chapters and going down that road, let's do something a little different and write each chapter as a letter. And so that's how that came about.
All right now. So I'm not into spoilers, but I'm just going to give some of the titles of some of these letters right here. Letter to a Gay Black Boy, an older man. Letters to a Gay Black Boy, the attempts. Letters to a Gay Black Boy, making an honest living. So is there a story of a person, you get really personal and real raw and, real, straightforward in regards to, your life in this story and some of the challenges you've had to deal with. So did you have, you know, any, reservations or second thoughts in regards to really just putting it all out there when you wrote this book?
I only had second thoughts about probably about a month before it went into publication. And it was sort of a reflecting moment of, okay, you've changed names to protect, the privacy and of others, but you're not necessarily protecting the privacy of yourself. Are you ready? Are you mentally and emotionally ready to step out there and have your life used as a points of inspiration and motivation to others? And I realized I was reading a story online about, I was sort of reminding myself about Matthew Shepard and all the folks that have, come before us that have gone through horrific things. And I think once I sort of reminded myself of the people that have come before me, it was almost instantaneously, right? There's no question. There was no question anymore. Use your life. I'm always talking about purpose, and we are all here for a specific purpose in life. Maybe this is actually your purpose. HR and recruitment and talent acquisition has all been fun for the past 15 years, and I can kind of do it in my sleep now. Maybe that hasn't been your purpose. Has been here to help people. Maybe it's now time to help people even more on a personal and deeper level than you've been helping all these years. So that was really, that moment for me was an aha moment, and turning and saying, there's no question anymore. You've had to face these things for reasons.
Right.
Some reasons are still unknown at this point. So why not go out and allow, I'm a spiritual person, so allow, my higher power to use my life as a vessel to other people and to speak to other people. So that's where that has come from too.
All right. Was there a story from the book that you wanted to share with our audience today to tease them and reel them in to buy the book?
Oh gosh. I mean, I can read. This is usually my go-to is I'll read the foreword if you would like me
Okay,
to
absolutely.
do that. Yeah.
I know you always have you're an author. You always have to have your book handy.
That's right. Absolutely correct. So yeah, I'll just quickly read this. So letters to a gay black boy. Forward. In life, we cannot control the cards we are dealt. We do not have the ability to change what God has in store for us. What we do have is free will. We have the ability to control how we play those cards, rise above the bad hands, and to overcome them. Life is a journey. It is about one's truth and living it authentically. Our Maker planned lives and futures, no matter how bright or dim. It is indeed up to us to seize the moments and enjoy the life we are given to the fullest. Unfortunately, it does not always happen according to plan. This book chronicles my many trials and tribulations and how I endured them, sometimes succumbing to pressures, other times rising above and overcoming. I shed light on the ups, downs, good and bad, in hopes that it touches at least one person's life, serving as a hint of inspiration and motivation. My wish is that a child, young adult, or one of any age can find strength and power for themselves through my words. So many times in the African American community, we sweep issues under the rug. I learned this at an early age. We shy away from deep conversations, vulnerability, expressions of love and affection, and uncomfortable topics. Things in life that we fear and or are uneducated on: abuse, homosexuality, and declaration of love. However, being a part of other communities later in life, I learned it is absolutely acceptable to express your feelings through emotion. It is acceptable to believe in your self-worth. It is essential to know that you are loved and to love yourself first and foremost. Be open and authentic and share your stories in order to walk in your own truth. Numerous people in this world feel as though they do not have voices. The kid being bullied in school, a child afraid to face their sexuality and discuss it with their parents, the young girl being abused. Shame, embarrassment, and unworthiness are all terrible emotions. Everything in this world happens for a reason, however. His plan for us was always to learn from these situations. I hope that hearing my story, people will find or strengthen their voices. Speak loudly, shout, stand up and take your place in this world. As each day is not promised, we should strive to be greater the next day than we were the day before. We should all feel blessed and proud to grace this earth and to have received that free will to find and live our own journeys. Letters to a Gay Black Boy will not be the book for everyone. It contains very sensitive subject matter and is extremely raw and open. Some details may completely shock you, and others will have you reaching for Kleenex. This is Letters to a Gay Black Boy.
All right now. See, even hearing it again, I mean, I remember reading it and I was like, ooh, is he writing about me? Because there's just so much, especially, the Black experience in America is different, and the gay Black man experience in America is different. And I don't think I'm speaking out of turn in regards to the fact that neither of us grew up in a predominantly Black community.
Correct.
Right. And so, and that even has its own set of challenges in regards to things. So, how was it that you were able to find your strength or your beacon of hope or light during that time when, it's easy to feel alone under those circumstances.
It really is. There were a few people in my life over the years that have served as inspiration and motivation for me. As you mentioned, growing up in predominantly environments that were not of color, and then, sort of dealing with your family or your church lives, and oh, you sound and act like them now. Oh, you sound and talk like them now. Oh, excuse me, you went to get a music education, so now you sing all proper and like them now. That plays on people's psyche, right? Yes. That plays on when you're trying to discover and find who you are in this world, and you've got people in your ear telling you different things, that plays on your psyche and stays with you for years to come. And I think for me, honestly, it was only within the last couple of years that I finally said, listen, I'm 40 now, but at that point, at that point in my 30s, I said, listen, you're about to be 40, right? You've already lived a life that most people will never really understand what that means to go through a life as such. It's about time that you take ownership and stand up and say, it is what it is. It's a life that needs to be heard. It's a story that needs to be heard. It's a life that can inspire. It's a life that people can learn from. And that's where that strength has come from, realizing that there are other people out there just like me that have experienced things like I have. There are other people that have had it worse off than I have. There are people that are still going through things like that to this day. And I think that's what really sort of kind of kicked me in the pants and say, you need to draw attention to these things, because everyone needs to understand it's okay to have a conversation about it. It's okay to bring attention to these sensitive subjects and topics where we typically sweep them under the rug. So that's what it was like for me going through these things and sort of being in the different environments. And I will say, doing that, the one thing is that builds a level of chameleon for ourselves.
That's true.
We can adapt and have something happen and keep it moving. My building was sold recently, and so I had to move. And a friend of mine said to me just yesterday, I'm really impressed. You quickly had to move, and you couldn't find a place right off, and then you have to do this, and you're speaking, and you've got book stuff. And he's like, you just take all these things, with stride, right? Like, you take it and say, I can't change it. I can only learn from it, and move on to the next wonderful thing, right? And so it sort of dawned on me as he was saying these things. It's like, even though you've gone through all that stuff and you've sort of risen above them, you're still doing that to this day. Yeah. Challenges are still being faced and pushed upon you every day. And I'm a firm believer in God never gives us more than we can bear. And he's putting these challenges in front of us for a reason. So whatever my grand thing is at the end of the day that he's creating or setting me up for, I'm here for it. I'm now open and receptive to those things and putting myself in a better position to receive that. So, yeah.
Well, you got a bunch of hearts after that little sermon right there, mister. So one thing that I love too is that I have a few unflattering photos of myself in the book, and you had some too. So I love that we're like honest in regards to that. In my book, it was when my car broke down in Casper, Wyoming, and I had to spend all this money on getting my car fixed. And I took a photo at the Meineke car spot, unhappy because I was gonna have to spend over $1,000 on getting my car fixed. And I
Right.
think I got a double chin and everything was showing. But I was like, you know what? This is the photo that shows the moment. And so
That's
I'm gonna
right.
put it in the book. And
That's right.
I love the honesty in regards to that. You know, I see you have your little cute little photos in the back, you know, but but I mean it's a real book. You're a real person. You're talking about real life experiences that you've lived through, especially that other people have lived through. And I love the fact that you mentioned the fact that that there are folks that have lived through worse, folks that are still living through it now. And it reminds me of a good friend, Rebecca, that says, it's not the oppression Olympics, right? And it's like, everybody's going through things. Everybody has gone through things. It's about how can we help each other, make it through the next trial or tribulation? How can we support each other through the next moment of hardship and grief? And be there for each other. And as members of the LGBT community, as I think you indicate in the book, much like the Black community, we have all these family members, right? I have all these uncles and cousins that are not blood related, but they're so integral and pivotal to your family that they're like family. They might as well, I mean, I see my Uncle Leon, and they're like, well, how is he? Whose brother is it? Well, he's my dad's best friend, right?
Right.
And but it's easy for us to say that. My cousins that I was raised with them, they call me their brother, and so then they had kids, and they're like, is he your brother? Is he our uncle? Is he our cousin? Technically, none of those, but all you need to know is that I'm family.
That's 100%. I think that is such an interesting thing, right? Like in the African-American community, as you just mentioned, we have that, but in the LGBTQ community, we are so accustomed to developing our own families and our own support system because a lot of us don't necessarily have that. We had to, absolutely. And so I love telling this story because yes, I have a biological mother whom I don't really have a relationship with, but the woman who I do call mom she just turned 70 recently, and she lives in Carrollton, Texas, and her daughter has been my best friend. She's my sister for over 20 years now. Like, that's who I call for support. And it's funny because when we used to live in the same area in San Francisco, we would go to business networking events together, and she would just randomly say to people, oh, my son is over there too. So everyone would be looking around like, well, who's her son? And she's like, him right there, that's my son. And they're like, wait, the look
so confused.
On people's faces were always so priceless. They're like, well, how did that happen? So I used to love those moments. And I love the fact that, she of course read the book and she's, touting and promoting the book in her community there, and wants me to fly there and meet some people and do some interviews and things like that there. And it's what I think, she hasn't said this to me, but one of the things that I think she's taken away from it is that, we do live similar stories regardless of our race and our socioeconomic backgrounds and where we come from and live. We all live very similar stories. And it takes one person to step up and say, it's okay to acknowledge that we struggled here, we experienced this. Once we realize that we have all of those similarities, we're going to be a better off society. We're not that different. And I think that's what, unfortunately, the last 4 years of all of our lives have been crazy from a higher administrative power.
Right,
Thankfully, that'll be changing very soon. But I think I'm hoping, very, very hopeful that the next 4 years we can get back to that real, true humanity. And that's what I want. Another thing that I want my book to do for people is to understand that we are human beings who live and breathe and bleed the same, right? So let's support each other much more than what we have been doing for X amount of years.
Oh, preach. We can totally do that. And here's another question. So I know that your book is titled Letters to a Gay Black Boy, but is this book only for Black people?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I got to ask the question because I know people are out there wondering about it. So go ahead and tell us why non-gay Black boys how they could benefit from this book.
Absolutely. You know what's funny? I just said this to someone yesterday too. I believe, and I think it's 99.9% safe to say that the most folks that have read my book are non-people of color. Non-gay people have read the book the most. And for those that know, Fort Lauderdale and Wilton Manors, I live in a very predominantly white, older community. And
Older
to
gay male
see, huh?
older gay male community.
Yes, absolutely. And to see the response here and people raising their hands and saying, thank you for sharing this story, because I never said it out loud. And then they would openly share it at an open forum or an event where I was speaking at. This happened to me and I felt such shame for 40 plus years. I could never say these words, that I experienced this, that I have struggled with this, or whatever the case may be. So I think I'm hopeful that people understand that this is just another step in the right direction to help us better understand one another, and to know that we are just like each other way more than we are different. So anyone who's a non-person of color or a non-gay person, please read it. Please pick it up to understand what your fellow human being goes through that may be very similar to you. Some of the reviews on some of those sites that the book is on, so Amazon, for example, some people, I've gone back and read some of them, and some people say, I'm not a person of color, I'm a white female, but I connected to so many stories in this book because I've experienced this, or my friends have experienced this, family members. And so that to me continues to solidify my thought, right? Everyone can benefit from reading this book, regardless of what your background is.
Life experiences, right?
That's right.
It's across the board sometimes. And so
Right.
I know that you mentioned Amazon. So where would you prefer that people purchase this book? Because I know that different authors have different preferences in regards to where they should buy the book.
Sure. So right now, Amazon is probably like the absolute easiest place to get it. It's, as of a month ago or so, it's at Barnes and Noble also, which is amazing. But Amazon, just Amazon.com. Type in the title, my name. Super easy to get it through Amazon.
Perfect. I just got a text message from my tech guru, my partner, or upstairs, saying that he couldn't hear me. So
yes, volume has gone down. Yes.
Oh no, I'm not sure what happened. All right,
yep.
But they can hear you, so that's the most important part.
There we go. You're going back up.
All right, so I know we have a couple minutes left. So if there's any questions, folks, make sure you get your questions in. Was there anything in closing that you wanted to throw out there, Terry? We need to do an event together, by the way. So,
we do.
So I'm gonna be working that angle on my end. I'm gonna be you working.
We
like,
do. Absolutely agreed. I can, especially after our very first conversation, I was like, oh yeah, like we're gonna be good friends. And then after this one, I'm like, ooh, the wheels are turning. What can we do? What event, what theater can we do some cool events? So we'll talk more about that.
All right, now, all right. So all right. We have watchers there still getting some claps and stuff. Kenneth and Joe jumped in. So did James and Pamela. So we have Pam and we have Pamela. Pamela must be coming from your end because she has a Black woman superhero as her.
Yes.
I gotta love that. All right. So I don't see any questions here. Joey just jumped in, but again, folks can watch this later on. You can share it with your friends. We do our Facebook Live discussions every week. And next week's the Facebook Live discussion won't be with a guest since it's going to be Thanksgiving. I don't want to drag people away from their families, since so many states are going on lockdowns in regard to things. So one thing I want to make sure that I say is, folks should please be safe in regards to, social distancing, wearing masks, everything that your elected officials in your state saying to do in regard to these things, because we want you to be here. We want you to be here for the next Facebook Live discussion, the next Facebook Live discussion. I want to see you at LGBT History Month and Pride events next year. And the only way that we can do that is if we come together and pull together as a community and think about one another in regards to making sure that we're all safe and that we all get through this. So next week's Facebook topic is going to be what do we have to be thankful for, right? Yay. And so I want you to think about that. I don't know, maybe I'll be able to coerce Terry to come back and share what he's thankful for, since it's a new year with the new book for him.
Yes.
So we'll see what we can do. But again, Facebook Live happens every Thursday at noon Central Time. Again, it's always available for replay later on, and I'm going to start putting them on the book's face YouTube page as well to make it easier for folks to be able to scroll through and find all of that. So thank you so much, Terry. It was so much fun having you as a guest today.
My pleasure. Thank you. This was definitely fun. I had a great time.
And I know you have a full list of things to do today, so I'm going to let
do.
you go. But thanks so much, folks, and we'll see you all later. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.